Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you speaking about learning to yearn. That's actually not true. I would rather not be speaking to you about learning to yearn. I would rather be speaking to you about how do we celebrate Tisha B'Av. I would rather be speaking to you post Mashiach when all the good stuff has already happened and we're like, yes, finally, this is amazing. What should we make for dinner to celebrate? That's what I want to be talking to you about. But I can't, not yet, not today. So today we're going to be talking about how to learn to yearn. And I once heard a story about a camp that was trying to teach this to their campers. So they had these kids make model Batei Mikdash, little pieces of the temple. They had them make them all summer long. And then on Tisha B'Av, they took these beautiful projects and they burnt them down. These poor kids must have been traumatized for life. Do not do this. This is not how we teach ourselves to learn to yearn, by making ourselves miserable. That's not what Tisha B'Av is about. Tisha B'Av is not a day where we try and be miserable, where we cause ourselves pain and loss. So what is Tisha B'Av? I'll tell you a story. And this is a story about a young girl named Sofi. And Sofi had a wonderful childhood. She grew up in a small town in Europe. She had a lot of brothers and sisters. She did not have a lot of toys, but she had chickens outside. She had friends. She had neighbors. Her aunt and uncle lived right nearby. At night, Sofi would climb into her little bed, her rickety bed, and she would go to sleep to the sound of her father learning Torah. And she would feel safe. And in the morning, she would wake up to the scent of her mother baking bread. And she would eat simple, good food. Sofi had a wonderful life. She knew what was coming the next day, and she felt good about the day before. Until one day, when all of that ended. And the Nazis came, and they took Sofi and her family, and they grabbed them, and they said, "Get out of your house right away. You can't take anything with you except for what fits in this little package. Go now." And Sofi and her family were rushed onto the street together with a whole bunch of other Jews from the town. The town was emptied out onto the street, and they were marched away from their home, away from the life that they once knew, away from their happiness and their peace, to the ghetto. What started that day changed things forever for Sofi. She went from there to the concentration camp. She lost her brothers. She lost her sisters. She lost her mother. She lost her father. She lost it all. By a miracle, Sofi survived. Sofi left the camps, barely a person. Barely. She looked like an old woman when she was really just a young girl. And she didn't know where to go or how to rebuild, what to attach herself to, what was worth living for. But she put one foot in front of the other, and she began to build a semblance of a life. And with time, things got better. And soon, she met someone who she would marry, and they moved to America and began a family. Sofi raised her children, trying to give them the love that she grew up on, trying to snatch a bit of the old country, a bit of the simplicity, a bit of mama's bread, trying to explain to her children what it was like to have a Seder table and to hear the sound from the other houses in the ghetto all coming towards you and all the voices mingling together and all the doors opening as they welcomed Eliyahu HaNavi on Seder night. She tried to explain the camaraderie on a Shabbos morning when they would take their cholent all out of the same baker's oven. She tried to give a taste of what once was to her children. And Sofi raised her family, and inside her heart, she was very much a survivor. At night, she would have nightmares. By day, she had nerves. But she did a wonderful job of building a Torah home, and then one day, she had a choice to make. You see, there was going to be a trip to Europe. And Sofi had a chance to go back to the home where she once grew up. She would have a chance to go back in time to the very memories that she had spoken about, to see the house, to see the grass, to feel the sun that once beat down on her as a small child. And she was so nervous. Should I go? Will I even make it out alive if I go back there a second time? She had no idea. She was tortured by this question. And at last her daughter said to her, "Mama, I'll go with you." And so they went together. And when they got to her home, there were strange people living there, and they didn't let her in. And she stood outside of her house that she grew up in, and she cried and she wept for what she had lost. Now imagine, just imagine, if at that moment, that very moment, the door would open and out would come Mama and Papa. Imagine that they would come out at that moment and they would say, "Sofi, we missed you. Where have you been? It's been so long without you. We're so sorry that you suffered. Come, sweet child, who is now grown, who we've never stopped loving. Come home to our embrace. We can't erase what was, but we can start again now together." And Sofi's mama would say to her, "Come, let me bake you bread once again." Imagine what a dream that would be. That's what we yearn for. That's Tisha B'Av. Because there was a time when we had our mama and our papa, where we had the Beis HaMikdash. We had a place that we called home. And we breathed the air of Hashem. We didn't have to wonder, where is God? Why are bad things happening to me? Where is justice in the world? It wasn't something that we had to intellectualize. It was life. Life was alive. There was music. There was 4,000 Leviim standing on 15 sets of stairs, singing with the most incredible harmonies. Today we struggle to open a siddur and to say a little tefillah. Do you think it's a struggle when you hear this incredible music washing over you and through you? Your heart just sings. That's called life. That's alive with our Papa. And what about when you do something wrong? Because we all do things wrong. And what do we do now when we do something wrong? We feel bad. We eat chocolate. We go shopping. We talk to our friends about it. We try to not talk Lashon Hara about it. We try to fix the guilt, and then maybe on Yom Kippur we come and we try to do tshuva. But what if the moment that you did something wrong, you felt, "I'm out of alignment, and this is uncomfortable. This is not who I'm meant to be, and I can feel it, and I need to fix this." And we had a way to fix it. We knew, it's easy. When we feel this regret in our heart, we go to Papa's house. We go to the Beis HaMikdash. We bring a korban. We cry bitter tears, and we're done. We're back in alignment. We're back centered in this relationship with Hashem. And I'm so jealous of those times. I don't know where you're hearing this, but I'm in America over here. When I breathe the air, I feel like it's stale air. It's stale air. It doesn't have life in it. It has commerce in it, has money in it, has success in it, has a whole lot of depression in it, has a lot of family issues in it. But I'm missing the aliveness that once was. The aliveness not only of the land of Israel, but of the land of Israel, where Hashem's divine presence is felt and tasted. Do you know that in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, we didn't just pop in there and visit like a yearly vacation. 3 times a year we went. It's like we had this umbilical cord to the Beis HaMikdash. And we nothing could keep us away, and we weren't supposed to be kept away. The minute you get settled, here comes another holiday. Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot. You stand up and you say, time to pack up the bags again, children. We're packing up again. Where are we going? To the Beis HaMikdash. Where are your friends going? To the Beis HaMikdash. We can't stay away from Mama's house. The food tastes better over there. We relax there. We rejuvenate there. We are reminded of ourselves over there. We're reminded that we're family. How many of you have a big family and you all live your separate lives and you're all doing things all around the world? I know I do. And sometimes it feels so sad. We love each other so much and we're all so busy in different corners of the world. And then are these times when we get together. Oh, and it's amazing. It's a reminder, family, camaraderie. And you'd come into the streets of Yerushalayim and hear just a cacophony of sound and noise and music and vendors and food. And the people of Jerusalem would just open their doors. Come on, come home, welcome home, welcome home. That's what it was. All the time was always being welcomed home. Do you know that it says that the sky was a different shade of blue? I can't tell you how often I think of that. I once got into a car accident just looking at the clouds. Just looking up at these amazing clouds, but imagine a different shade of blue, something so exquisite that it just takes your breath away. It's like you can see clear through to the heavens. You know, at the end of days, we're going to be asked, Tzipisa liyeshua. That means, did you hope? Did you yearn for salvation? Did you hope for Mashiach to come, or did you get real settled over here? And I was thinking, tzipisa, the tzadi and the pei, is like the shorish of the word tzipor, a bird. When I was a kid, we used to go to this store, and this was our Sunday afternoon activity. We would wander around this drugstore, and then at the side, they had this area for pets. So they had little rabbits, and we would just make sure no one was looking and stick our hands in the cage and pet the rabbits. And little hamsters, once I bought one and brought it home, and I got in trouble. And then there were the birds, these little parakeets. And I remember standing in front of the cage of the parakeets, and I couldn't move because I felt so bad for these parakeets. Their wings were clipped, and they couldn't get out of the cage. They would just flap their little wings as best they could and bump into the sides. And I was like horrified at the injustice. Who would trap a bird in a cage? Who would do that? I was just a young girl, and it would happen all the time, every Sunday when we would go on our little excursion. I couldn't get away from these colorful birds that were just trapped. It seemed so cruel. And yet that's what we are. We're like birds trapped in a cage. It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. You want to talk yearning? You want to talk yearning? Think of us with our wings clipped. We can soar so high. We are divine. Our souls are yearning to be expressed. And yet we're stuck in a reality that's an illusion, where we have to sift through so much pain in order to find Hashem, where we have to have our relationships with our fellow Jew obscured by differences. There's no difference between me and my fellow Jew. We're all Hashem's children. And yet in this crazy reality, it's like this maddening thing where it's like a fun house where everything is distorted, and that's where we are, and we're stuck. To learn to yearn, I don't think we need to learn to yearn. All we need to do is to sit still for a moment, and we feel, my gosh, is this all there is to life? No, this cannot be. Sometimes I go to a wedding, and I look at the people at the chuppah, and something about that crowd being all together and seeing the men and seeing the women, I just think like every single person here has a story. There's not one person that isn't walking around with a package of suffering, with a package of pain. Ain't nobody. That's what we are. We're birds weighted down by this package on top of us. Of course we want to take this package off. And so I was thinking, imagine that there would be a way for this bird, a bird to get out of the cage. If its wings weren't clipped, it was just stuck in a cage. Imagine what would it take to free the bird? And I was thinking, I wonder what would happen if the bird sang a song that its mother recognized. If it just tweeted, And its mother just recognized it and would come swooping down, and with her little beak, she would just open that latch. It's not so hard. If you've ever seen a bird cage, it's just a little latch. You just pick it up. The bird is free. And she would just whistle to her mother. And the mother bird would swoop in and lift the latch, and the bird would be free. Could you imagine? I once went to Costa Rica, and I saw parakeets in the wild, and it blew me away. Do you know how high these birds soar? Take the tallest tree you've ever seen, and then double it, and then put a little pink speck on top of it. That's where a parakeet belongs, not trapped in a cage. That's where you and I belong. You and I belong in a state of happiness, of bliss, of connection to our true selves. And so here's the question. Ready? What is the song that the bird sings? What's in that song? What does the mother recognize? And the answer, my friends, is a song of love and gratitude. When we sing a song of love and gratitude, we bring our mother to us. We bring the Shekhinah to us. We bring Mashiach to us. You see, we think that we are waiting for Mashiach. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Mashiach is waiting for us to just whistle our tune. Mashiach is waiting for us. What is the song of love and gratitude? The song of love is to realize that when we come home to Papa and Mama's house, and were we to be Sofi, and all our brothers and sisters were with us, we are indeed one family. We are one family. That's the song of love. The song of love is to look at people and know that I am you and you are me. We are part of one collective soul. And when I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. And when you hurt me, I know that you're hurting. And we can bless one another, and we can see through our differences. Imagine, if you will, imagine if Sofi's siblings had somehow survived, and one day they get a call that there is a package of diamonds that someone has brought them, that their parents had put away for them, and now they are returning it to their rightful owner, to the children. And Sofi and her siblings see these diamonds from their parents, and they're all raising families, and they start fighting over them. They start fighting over the Yerusha. And they say, this belongs to me, I'm the oldest. No, this belongs to me, I'm the boy in the family. No, this belongs to me, I'm the favorite. No, this belongs to me, I'm the most needy. No, this belongs to me. Imagine that they would be fighting over the very thing that their parents left for them to treasure. Imagine that, the absolute tragedy of that. That's what it's like when we fight now. When we look down on other people now. We take this Yerusha, this beautiful gift that Hashem gave us, this Torah that we have with us, and we fight over it. We say, my way is right, I'm better than you. No, my way is right, I'm better than you. When we do that, it's a disgrace. But when we sing the song of love, we are actually bringing our mama and papa back into us. You know, when I lost my brother, I'll never forget this. I lost my brother Gabriel, Alav Shalom. And at the end of the Shiva, my brother Ben Sion Klatsko, he set us in a circle. And he said to us, he took leadership of the siblings in that moment. And he said, we are not going to be like a family that has an empty spot in it all the time. Instead, what we are going to be is like a family that circles around the memory of our brother. We're going to bind together tighter and in that way honor his memory, not walk around with a gaping wound. That's what it is when we love each other. Instead of having the gaping wound of the Churban, we actually elevate ourselves in the skalas, and we bring Geula to us. We bring the Shekhinah back into our midst. And that's where we want to be. And the song of gratitude is to know that in all of this story that Hashem has put us in, although He may look hidden at times and things may look bad at times, He has never moved an inch. Even though the Shekhinah has departed, Hashem Himself, the essence of who Hashem is, that unconditional love for us, that presence that fills the world, has never stopped giving to us for one single moment. And so the song of gratitude is to thank Hashem all the time. You know that they say that redemption is not a time, it's an era. It's not a moment, it's an era. We are already in the era of redemption. And there are those amongst us who are already walking in redemption. What does that mean? That means that they are singing the song of love and gratitude. They're uniting with their brothers and sisters. They're yearning, yes, for a time when things are restored to order, but already now they're choosing to be with love and gratitude, united with each other and thanking Hashem, seeing Hashem through our life. And we can do that. We can do that. In Rabbi Pinchas Winston's book about bringing redemption, he talks about how in history there are makers and there are pawns. The makers are the ones who make things happen. They can make tremendous good happen and they can make tremendous evil happen. But the makers are the ones that create history. And then there are the pawns. That's the collective masses. They follow along. And you can be a maker or you can be a pawn. We can bring the Geula. We can choose the Geula today. And when we do that, that is the expression of our yearning. And that yearning, that realization that this is not how things should be, we are not going to put up with sinas chinam, with speaking badly about another. That realization, that uniting together around my brother's memory, around the memory of a time of wholeness for all of us as a Jewish people, that yearning is going to bring us home. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for being who you are, wherever you are, and doing your part to bring the Geula. As you yearn today, what you can do proactively is to forgive another and to thank Hashem and to be clear and aware that things are not okay as they are and that you are going to be a maker and do everything that you can to change the course of history and bring the Geula now. Thank you and every blessing to you.